The chains rattled against stone as the alien collapsed forward, blood pooling beneath its shattered leg. Commander Reeves didn't move. Didn't flinch. He'd been kneeling in the throne hall for 6 hours now, hands bound behind his back, watching his crew die one by one in the arena below. The Creathian queen sat motionless on her crystalline throne, for eyes tracking every tremor of pain that crossed his face. She wanted him to break. To beg. 3 months ago, his ship had strayed into protected space during a rescue mission. 3 months ago, he made the choice that haunted him now, ordering his crew to fire on Creathian vessels to escape. 12 of their warriors had died. Now 12 of his would answer for it. The arena floor opened. Massive creatures with serrated limbs crawled up from the darkness. Lieutenant Chen lasted 40 seconds. Reeves forced himself to watch every moment. He owed them that much. The Queen's youngest daughter sat to her left, small figures draped in ceremonial robes that seemed too heavy for their frames. The eldest couldn't have been more than 7 in human years. She kept her gaze fixed on Reeves, not the carnage below. Her smaller sister hid her face against the throne's armrest. "The human commander feels nothing," the Queen's advisor hissed, mandibles clicking with satisfaction. "See how he kneels without tears. Without honor for his dead." Reeves met the Queen's eyes. Held them. Let her see exactly what he felt, rage and grief compressed into diamond-hard resolve. If she wanted him broken, she'd have to work harder than this. The arena fell silent. The creatures retreated. Guard Captain Jintar approached the throne with formal precision, his scarlet armor unmarred despite standing witness to the slaughter. He spoke in the clicking Creathian dialect, too rapid for Reeves' translator to catch. The Queen's response was a single word. Jintar's antennae flattened against his skull. He repeated his statement, slower this time, with evident strain. The youngest princess suddenly stood. She was barely tall enough to see over the throne's arm, but her movement drew every eye in the hall. She extended one delicate finger toward Reeves. The hall erupted in shocked chittering. The Queen's hand rose, and silence crashed down like a physical force. She turned to her daughter, head tilting in a gesture Reeves had learned meant dangerous curiosity. The child spoke 3 words. Her voice carried across the vast chamber with the clarity of breaking glass. The Queen went absolutely still. Not the stillness of thought, but the predator's stillness before the strike. Her advisor stumbled backward, nearly tripping over his own ceremonial robes. Jintar's hand moved to his weapon, then froze. The older princess remained motionless, but her compound eyes had widened to their full extent. Reeves' translator finally caught up, feeding him the child's words with mechanical precision. "I want that one." The implications hit him like cold water. Creathian princesses chose personal servants from defeated enemies. Living trophies. Proof of their family's dominance. But there was protocol, strict, unbreakable protocol. The Queen chose first. The heir second. Only then could the younger children claim their selections from whatever remained. The youngest had just violated that order. In front of the entire court. Pointing at the highest value prisoner. The Queen rose from her throne. She stood nearly 9 feet tall, her exoskeleton bearing the scars of countless battles. When she moved, the hall held its breath. She descended the steps with measured precision, each footfall echoing like a countdown. She stopped directly before Reeves, close enough that he could see his reflection fractured in her multifaceted eyes. "You killed my warriors," she said in perfect, unaccented English. "Mothers. Fathers. Children left without protection. You killed mine," Reeves replied. His voice didn't shake. "Daughters. Sons. Parents who'll never know what happened to them." Her mandibles spread in what might have been a smile or a threat display. "Your crew fired first. After your ships boxed us in. After you denied our explanation. After you declared us pirates for trying to save 40 colonists from a dying station." He leaned forward slightly, chains scraping stone. "We both made choices that day. Now we both pay the price." The Queen's head turned toward her youngest daughter. The child hadn't moved, hadn't lowered her finger. She stared at Reeves with an intensity that seemed impossible for someone so small. "Why him?" the Queen asked her daughter, switching back to Crethean. The child's response came in their language, but her eyes never left Reeves' face. The translator rendered it as, "He sees us." The Queen's antennae drew forward sharply. She looked back at Reeves, studying him with new attention. Then, she did something that made Jintar's hand finally close on his weapon's grip. She reached down and touched Reeves' face with one blade-sharp finger, pressing just hard enough to draw a single drop of blood. "My daughter has made a shocking choice," she said quietly, in English meant only for him. "Now I must make mine." She turned away, walked back to her throne, sat down with careful deliberation. The entire court waited, barely breathing, as she steepled her fingers and closed all four eyes. When they opened again, everything changed. "Release him," the Queen commanded. Jintar stepped forward immediately. "My Queen, protocol demands," I said, "release him." Her voice could have cut steel. "Bring him before me. Unbound. Armed." The advisor made a choking sound. "Your Majesty, this is unprecedented." The sentence was clear. 12 lives for 12 lives. "To break this now, do you question my authority, Counselor?" The advisor's mandibles clamped shut. He lowered himself into a submissive crouch, antennae flat against his skull. Jintar moved to Reeves' side. His blade whispered free of its sheath. For one moment Reeves thought this was it, execution instead of the arena. Then, the blade sliced through the chains. His hands fell free. Blood rushed back into his wrists in painful waves. "Stand," Jintar ordered. "Follow me. Do not run. Do not speak. Do not make me regret showing you this mercy." Reeves pushed himself to his feet, legs screaming from 6 hours of kneeling. He followed the guard captain up the steps, acutely aware of 300 hostile eyes tracking his every movement. Jintar stopped at the weapon rack beside the throne. He selected a Crethean blade, shorter than standard issue, balanced for human grip. He held it out horizontally. Reeves took it. The weight felt wrong in his hand, but the edge gleamed with lethal promise. "Approach the throne," the Queen said. "Kneel again. This time by choice, not chains." Reeves walked forward. The youngest princess watched him with unwavering focus, her small form somehow radiating absolute certainty. Her older sister had placed one hand on her shoulder, whether in support or restraint, Reeves couldn't tell. He stopped before the Queen. Slowly, deliberately, he lowered himself to one knee. The blade rested across his thigh, visible but not threatening. "Look at me," the Queen commanded. He did. Up close, he could see the fine cracks in her exoskeleton, the faded scars across her mandibles. She was old. Ancient, perhaps, by Crethean standards. And tired in a way that went deeper than age. "My daughter says you see us," the Queen said softly. "Prove it. Tell me what you see when you look at my youngest child." Reeves turned his head slightly, studying the small princess who'd upended everything. She stood perfectly still, hands folded in front of her, meeting his gaze with the kind of gravity that should have been impossible for someone so young. "I see someone who's watched you grieve," he said carefully. "Someone who's learned that justice sometimes looks like vengeance, and vengeance never fills the holes it's meant to patch. I see someone who just risked everything to stop this cycle." The Queen's breath hissed through her spiracles. "You presume much about my daughter's intentions." "No, Your Majesty. I presume nothing. But she pointed at me when she could have stayed silent. That took courage. And courage deserves an answer. The answer you've earned is death. 12 deaths. Yes. And yet you kneel here armed, when you could try to strike me down. Take vengeance of your own." Reeves felt the weight of the blade across his leg. "Your guards would cut me down before I moved 6 inches. And even if I succeeded, my remaining crew would die screaming. There's no victory in that trade. Then, why accept the weapon? Because you wanted to know if I'd take it. if I'd show wisdom or desperation when given the choice. He paused. And because your daughter's watching. Whatever happens next, she needs to see adults who choose thought over rage. The silence stretched. Then, the Queen reached down and placed her hand over the blade on his leg. Her fingers could have closed and crushed his leg with it, but they rested there with surprising gentleness. Rise, Commander Reeves. We have much to discuss. He stood, confusion warring with hope and suspicion. The Queen gestured to Jyntar, who approached with a tablet displaying dense columns of Crethean text. The 12 deaths owed have not been paid, the Queen said, her voice carrying across the hall. But my daughter has invoked an ancient rite, one not used in 14 generations. She has claimed you as Kethra now, one who sees the soul of our people. If you accept this role, you will serve our house. Your life becomes ours to command. Your freedom becomes ours to grant or deny. Your loyalty must be absolute. She paused, letting the weight of those words settle. In exchange, your remaining crew will be released immediately. They will be given a ship, provisions, and safe passage out of Crethean space. The debt of 12 lives will be considered paid through your service. The war between our peoples, at least in this small corner of space, will end. Reeves stared at her. You're offering me slavery to save my crew. I am offering you purpose to honor them. There is a difference. Not one I see. The youngest princess stepped forward then, moving past her sister's restraining hand. She stopped directly in front of Reeves, tiny compared to his height, and looked up at him with those enormous compound eyes. You lost people, she said in halting English. We lost people. If we keep killing, more people get lost. She glanced back at her mother, then continued. Mama says strength means winning? I think strength means stopping. But I'm too small to stop it alone. I need help. I need someone who sees us. Who sees the lost people matter more than winning. The simplicity of it hit Reeves like a hammer blow. This child had cut through politics, protocol, and revenge with the brutal clarity only innocence could wield. She didn't want a servant. She wanted an ally. Someone to show her mother, show her entire civilization, that another path existed. And she'd chosen him because he'd watched his crew die without turning away. Because grief hadn't made him blind. He looked at the Queen. If I accept, what guarantee do I have that you'll honor the terms? None but my word. The same guarantee I have that you won't try to escape or betray us the moment your crew is safe. That's asking me to trust someone who just executed my people. Yes. Just as I'm trusting someone who killed my warriors. Trust must start somewhere, Commander. The question is whether we're both brave enough to let it start here. Reeves closed his eyes. Saw Chen's face. Saw the rest of his crew, still alive, still waiting in whatever cells the Cretheans kept them in. Saw the decades of war stretching ahead if this moment passed unused. Then, he opened his eyes and looked down at the small princess who'd gambled everything on a stranger's capacity for mercy. I accept, he said quietly. But on one condition. Your daughter wanted me because I see you. That means I get to speak truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Even when it contradicts what you want to hear. If I'm going to help her learn a different path, I can't do it while pretending your current one is just. The Queen's mandibles spread. Definitely a smile this time, sharp and approving. Accepted. Though you may come to regret that bargain, Commander. My daughter asks very difficult questions. She gestured to Jyntar again. The guard captain stepped forward, producing a small ceremonial knife and a crystal vial. The binding, the Queen explained. Your blood and my daughter's mixed and sealed. It creates a bond our people consider unbreakable. Betray it, and you'll die choking on your own betrayal. Honor it, and it will give you standing in our court that no outsider has ever possessed. Reeves held out his hand. The youngest princess did the same, her small palm barely a quarter the size of his. Jyntar made 2 quick cuts, one in each palm. Blood welled, red from Reeves, pale blue from the princess. The guard captain pressed their hands together, wrapping them in a strip of ceremonial cloth. The princess spoke words in Old Creathian, her voice steady despite the pain. Reeves felt something shift, like a lock clicking into place somewhere deep in his chest. The sensation wasn't painful, but it was utterly foreign, a presence that hadn't been there before. When Jintar unwrapped their hands, the cuts had already begun to seal. The princess smiled up at Reeves, the expression strange on Creathian features but unmistakable in its warmth. "Now you're mine," she said proudly. "And I'm yours. We help each other be brave." Reeves knelt again, this time meeting her at eye level. "What's your name, princess?" "Seraphina. But you can call me Sarah. That's easier for human mouths." "All right, Sarah. I'm John. And I promise you, no more people get lost if we can help it. Deal?" She held out her small fist. He bumped it gently with his, and her delighted chirp echoed through the silent hall. The queen rose from her throne. "Counselor, draft the release orders for the human crew. Jintar, arrange for a ship and provisions. I want them gone before nightfall." "And Commander Reeves?" Jintar asked. The queen looked down at her youngest daughter, who still stood beside Reeves with her hand resting on his arm. Something softened in her expression, grief and hope and desperate, terrible fear all mixed together. "He stays with Sarah. She chose him. Now we discover whether her choice saves us or dooms us all." "Mama," Sarah said quietly, "it saves. I promise." "You cannot promise such things, little one." "Yes, I can. Because John sees us. And now we have to see him back. That's how it works." The queen's antennae trembled. Then she turned away, but not before Reeves caught the shimmer in her compound eyes. "Take her to the garden, Commander. She's had enough of death for one day." Reeves stood, and Sarah immediately claimed his hand. Her grip was surprisingly strong for someone so small. As they walked toward the garden doors, he heard the queen's voice behind them, barely a whisper. "Protect her, human. She carries our future in ways she doesn't understand. If you fail her, I will make your previous torments seem like mercy." He didn't turn around. Just kept walking, this strange, brave child leading him toward sunlight and the unknown territory of hope. Behind them, the throne hall slowly emptied, guards and courtiers dispersing to spread word of the shocking choice that had changed everything. In the arena below, workers cleaned blood from stone, preparing for executions that would never come. And somewhere in the palace cells, Reeves' crew waited for freedom they couldn't yet imagine, purchased by a commander's oath and a child's courage. The garden smelled of flowers that Earth had never known, and Sarah's questions began immediately, rapid fire, curious, impossible to answer simply. She wanted to know everything about humans, about Earth, about what made people choose kindness over cruelty. Reeves answered as honestly as he could, watching her process each response with an intensity that reminded him why the Queen feared this moment. Sarah wasn't just learning about humans. She was learning that enemies could become allies, that justice could wear mercy's face, that strength sometimes meant stopping instead of winning. These were dangerous lessons for a future queen. They could reshape everything. Or destroy it. As night fell over the Creathian capital, John Reeves sat in an alien garden with a child who'd saved his life, and wondered if he'd just helped forge peace or given birth to a revolution neither species was ready for. Only time would tell. But for the first time in 3 months, he had time to give. And that, perhaps, was the most shocking choice of all, the Queen's decision to gamble her daughter's future, her people's traditions, and her own grief on one human's promise to see them clearly. To see that underneath the armor and violence, they were just people trying to protect what they loved. Failing, like everyone failed. But trying nonetheless. Sarah fell asleep against his shoulder as the twin moons rose, her quiet breathing a fragile rhythm against the vast uncertainty of tomorrow. Reeves stayed motionless, unwilling to disturb her rest, and thought about the crew he'd saved and the price he'd paid. About the warriors who died on both sides. About the long, difficult road ahead. But mostly he thought about a small voice asking difficult questions, and how the answer to every one began with the same impossible truth: we start by seeing each other. Everything else follows from there. In the throne hall, the queen sat alone in darkness, 4 eyes fixed on the empty chains that had held her enemy. Her youngest daughter had made a shocking choice. Now the queen had made hers. History would judge them both. But tonight, for the first time since her warriors fell, she allowed herself to hope that judgment might be kind. 2/2